I think we're right here.
Yeah.
6 o'clock.
I may just have,
6 p.m.
may
And
have to hold it.
microphones on, please. Make sure they get them on.
Yeah.
And I'd like to welcome everybody to the Monday, Valentine's Day, February 14, 2022 City Council meeting. Roll call, 5 councilors present, 2 councilors are joining us. Councilor Mark Gaughan and Councilor John Morrow are joining us via Zoom. Can you hear us, both of you?
I can hear you, Jody.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And how about you, John?
John? Nope.
Looks a little frozen.
He's not present, he's moving, but can we, does anyone have a text?
It says listen on YouTube.
Okay. So,
Or maybe his. Okay. He just waved. Let's look at.
Okay, can you hear us now?
John, can you hear us?
I don't know.
Disappeared.
We'll just hope that magic happens later.
Okay.
Did he say he was gonna follow us through YouTube, but
Yeah,
there's no
that's
way
what
for
I
him to
was thinking.
communicate?
Is there a way to? Can we call in?
If you open the chat, you might be able to tap it, type back and forth if you can't.
Because we're gonna need him in on the roll call vote. He's gonna have to.
Penny, can you still hear me?
Hi there.
Yes.
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you, Mark. We're working on John right now.
Okay, it's not me then here.
No,
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 it's
you're
just, we're
good.
just trying to get John's link hooked
Okay,
up.
no problem.
Okay, so are you able to like vote, or can you vote in the chat? Okay, all right, so just keep your chat open so you can
Good
vote.
enough.
Good, you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Yeah, no
Is it
problem.
warm?
Bye-bye.
It's nice.
so he's gonna listen to us on YouTube and then we'll
Yes.
vote on the chat.
Yeah,
So when we go through, I'll make sure
yeah.
to slow me up until he gets his, yep, and Danielle can follow along. Okay, so,
Because I figured out something, you said you could put it on a phone and then.
so we get to,
One way is gonna Yeah.
we got the roll call. That's in one, we got that taken care of. Invocation, inspirational thought. Once again, we have Troy Heald from the Woodland Baptist Church. Pleasure to have you here again this evening. If you stand up and introduce yourself and lead us in prayer.
Well, again, I thank you folks for including those of us in the churches, and it is a great honor and privilege to be able to be here. Again, we want you to know that out where we are at the Woodland Church, we pray for you folks regularly. Sitting where you sit is not easy, and we recognize that. And if it was, we'd all be doing it, right? But we know it's a difficult job, but we thank you folks for what you do, and we do pray for you regularly, and we'll do that right now. So let's pray. Dear God, again, we just thank you, Lord, for the gathering that brings us together tonight. Lord, we do lift up these individuals who serve our community and serve in various ways, both sitting up front and also serving in the various departments of our communities as well. Lord, we do pray that you would allow them to conduct the necessary business appropriately tonight, and Lord, that the right decisions will come out as well. Lord, again, we thank you for their willingness to serve, and we do just pray that you would watch over them as they lead our community. Again, we just ask your blessing over this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Again, thank you, folks, and
Thank you for
we'll keep praying
coming
for you
back
as
again.
well.
You're welcome to stay for the meeting if you choose. Okay, if everybody would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, public forum. Danielle, do you have anything from via email? Does anybody from the audience would like to stand up and speak during public forum? Agenda item number 5, we have 5A, B, C, and D. We have the minutes from October 4th, 2021 meeting, October 18th, 2021 meeting, January 10th, 2022 meeting, and the January 24th, 2022 meeting. I believe everybody has had an opportunity to look these over in their agenda. What are council's wishes?
Motion to move the slate.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to move the slate. Any discussion? Boma?
Aye.
Gone?
Aye.
Morale?
Aye.
Morrell?
I think you can see him typing. There's a little bit of, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I think that Hughes is supposed to be yes.
Okay, yes. Terrell?
Aye.
Willie?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So, next, number 6A, we have American Red Cross Month, the 2022 proclamation, which is on page 22 to 27. Is what it is. And I'll read this. Whereas American Red Cross Month 2022 proclamation, whereas March is Red Cross Month, a time to honor the kindness and generosity of the many humanitarians among us, and whereas in time of crisis, people from Caribou and across Maine come together to care for one another, giving us hope and turning compassion into action to carry out the American Red Cross mission of preventing and alleviating human suffering in the face of emergencies. And whereas together we provide emergency shelter, food, medicine, and comfort for individuals and families devastated by disasters, teach others how to stay safe during an emergency, and work to ensure everyone has working smoke alarms and emergency fire escape plans. And whereas together we support service members, veterans, members of the National Guard and Reserves, their families and caregivers through the unique challenges of military life. And whereas together we deliver international humanitarian aid to help to reconnect families separated by armed conflict and international disasters. And whereas together we help to save the lives of others with vital, life-preserving health and safety skills. And whereas together we donate essential blood for accident and burn victims, new mothers and their babies, heart surgery and organ transplant patients, and those receiving treatment for cancer and sickle cell disease. And whereas 200 years since the birth of the American Red Cross founder, Clara Barton, we dedicate March to all those who continue to advance her noble legacy and ask others to join together in the commitment to care for people in need. Now therefore be it resolved that the Caribou City Council fully support and do hereby proclaim March 2022 as American Red Cross Month throughout the city. We encourage all citizens of Caribou to join the Red Cross in its humanitarian mission, and volunteers, blood donors, community partners, and local champions to continue to build resiliency of our communities. And we'll sign that at the end of the meeting. Or the council will sign that at the end of the meeting, I should say. And, okay, so that takes care of 6A7, public hearings and possible item actions. We don't have anything there. 8A, reports and staff. Reports by staff and committee. 8A, December 2021 financials. And we have our finance director, Carl, with us to give us an update.
Good evening, Councilor, Mayor and Councilors and Manager. Here to present December 2021 financials, and I'll just remind you that these are unaudited numbers. So looking on page 28, total assets at year end was $11,008,315.66. Cash on hand at the end of the year, we had $6,167,147.14. Tax receivables, about 3/4 of the way down the page. The 2021 tax receivables, we collected $339,000 for the month of December, which brings our tax receivables down to $712,000. We've collected about 90.4% of total commitment for 2021 through the end of the year. On the next page, I have liabilities, $7,396,7139. Moving over to page 32. I just want to mention on this page, account number 456. It's about 1/4 of the way down the page. Tax Relief Fund 2021. That's the account that you guys created in the last meeting for the tax relief of the $194,790.77. Bottom of that page, the fund balance for the end of the year, we're at $3.612 million, which is up about $350,000 from the previous year. Moving over to page 35, our expenses for the month of December, we're at $1,077,642. Year to date for the total year, we had $9,763,471. We were under budget by $78,418.60. It's about 0.8% under budget for the year. Moving over to page 40, our revenues for the month of December. We're at $639,124 for the month. Total year-to-date revenue we collected was $10,182,250, and we collected over budget $283,139.09. It's about 2.86% above budget. Just a couple side notes. Excise tax for the month of December, we collected $95,000. The year to date, we collected $1.6 million. Revenue sharing for the month of December was $131,000. Year to date, we collected about $1.6 million. And then over to page 45 is our quarterly investment report. Nothing really changed. I did update a couple of CDs that matured during the quarter. Again, interest rates are pretty low, so most of them came in at 0.15 or 0.25. That's all I had, unless anybody had any questions.
Anybody from council have questions for Carl?
Counselor Vaughn has his name.
Mark.
He's on mute.
Nope.
Yes, real quick, what percentage of taxes did you say were collected up to date?
through the end of the year was 90.4%. And that's about 2% less than last year at the same time. However, we've collected more in prepayments for the next year than we did last year, so one could say that it kind of balances off.
Okay. And that's great. I'd like to know, like, where we stand with actual numbers from last year.
Yep.
Or even, like, a 3-year average.
Okay.
The actual,
Yep.
so 92 last year and 90.4 this year.
Yeah, it was actually 92.2 last year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Knew he was gonna ask.
Does anybody else from council have questions for Carl? Go and entertain a motion.
Move to accept.
Second?
Motion to accept the December financials. Seconded. Discussion. Boma.
Aye.
Gone.
Aye.
Morale.
Aye.
Morrell.
Okay, there we go.
Yes. Morrell's a yes. Terrio.
Aye.
Willie.
Aye.
Aye. June financial, or the December financials, that's a June.
You wish.
I'm thinking too far, I'm thinking of warmer days. So that takes care of 8A. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, I got the next one too.
Oh, you've got the next one, excuse me. Taxes paid on properties acquired through automatic lien process, the finance director. And that is on page
46.
46 to
46 and 47, yeah. So we had 2 that paid before the deadline of January 31st. And we had 1 gentleman pay on February 1st. So that's the one that I wanted to get permission to accept from you folks, because the policy only allows me to collect through the end of January. And that's on Dwayne Blackwell, 0 Access Highway. I have the money in the vault, I just haven't posted it because I need to know if you guys want to accept it or not.
What are the wishes of Councilor Terrio?
That property is not in very good shape, is it?
I don't believe so.
Is it on?
It's mostly land. He has like an older mobile home on it, but most of the value is in the land. It's not, like, he had several of the properties that we took last year that were down, like, North Street and
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest. But this isn't that. This
This
is a piece
isn't
of
that.
land on the access highway.
Was it, go back to, oh, go ahead.
You said there's a trailer on it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it lived in?
We have a homestead exemption on the property, so he has claimed that as his permanent residence. However, we don't have any indication that there's water and sewer at that location.
Does it pass, is there issues on the property, the buildings? Do we have anything, building code violations, anything that should
I
have
don't
been
know,
addressed?
did we, have we
hasn't
sent
been?
him anything out there? I don't think we've sent him
We've had no
anything.
complaints. I didn't realize that he's claimed to be living there. It looked to me like the trailer was parked and there's been no one in and out of that property.
No, I'm looking here at the tax, excuse me, on the tax records, we only have 3 years. Why is there nothing prior to that? Was that something he bought from, as a tax acquired property, or? I see nothing from
No,
2018.
he was paying up until,
Oh, is that,
that
okay,
time.
that's
Yeah.
why there's no back. Yep.
that's why I went to foreclosure, because it's 3 years back.
Okay. So this is,
So we have no knowledge as to whether the property's up to snuff to code? Anything that we're gonna have to address or possibly address a week from now after we?
Well, if you end up, like if you give it back to him, then it's his problem. You know, if you keep it and say, no, we're not going to accept your payment, then is it possible that we now have to have a mobile home? But it is on land. I mean, there's value in the land. That's where the value is here, not necessarily in the dwelling that's on the land.
But there's still a cost to remove the trailer even if we own it. My
Correct.
point is
Yeah.
it would be good to know before we, you know. But
Table it, check.
whatever the wish of the council.
Table until next meeting. That's,
Say no.
so what are the wishes of the council? This, and then you clarified that this wasn't some of the property that was previously acquired, so that was.
No, this
from this
is something
individual,
new.
yeah, separate.
Could we make a motion pending more information on whether he's
Yeah,
living there, whether he
Motion.
plans to live there, whether he plans to rent it, what are his plans? I know we don't have a whole lot of room there, but table it until we get more information.
I just was asking questions. I just don't wanna have to deal with this down the road, but if code hasn't seen anything and there's been no complaints, I guess that's all we get to run on.
I can rescind my motion.
Okay, they rescind the motion, so any other wishes from council? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark, please.
Administration, made a recommendation in the packet to approve it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just basing it on the amount paid. I'm only the tax collector, so I don't know of any violations. And Ken has confirmed that there is no violation, so I only did that because I have the funds in hand, so.
Would be nice to know if this was going to be the permanent residence. It sounds like there's question as to that.
Or if the place is even livable. You know, if there's no water and sewer or whatever.
Well, we don't have knowledge that there is
Right.
water and sewer. There hasn't been a permit for a septic system.
Any more questions from council on this?
One more comment.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
We're running a $12 million operation. Somebody wants to come in and pay their taxes up in full. Let's move on.
Is that a motion?
I move that we accept the money that was received in lieu of that and clean this up. Yes.
Second it.
Motion moved to seconded to accept the motion from administration. Discussion? Boma?
No.
Go on.
Yes.
Morale?
Aye.
Morrell?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, what's that? Terrio?
No.
Willie?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. So, we'll have a deed at the next meeting for us to sign.
Actually, I have it ready in case
You have it ready for us
in case
to
you
sign at the end of the
decide to
meeting
vote on it.
for Danielle. Okay, that's done. Managers report 4849. Penny, take it away.
So, Riverfront Power Plants on Friday, County Environmental walked through the buildings with Chris Atwood from Environmental Safety Professionals, and more asbestos was found that needs to be investigated. I received the emails this morning and I did forward those to council. So there's going to need to be some more investigation there. The broadband initiative, the CUD charter change was approved on Wednesday, and there is a workshop on February 22nd. here with the council and CUD. The Community Development Block Grant, several businesses have come forward with projects, and staff is also working to identify other funding sources. I had a meeting at NMDC on Friday just to talk about some of the projects that came in, and without mentioning names, and which ones they thought would be the best source of funding to try to get some of those going. Events and marketing, city staff is working on plans for Winter Carnival, Thursdays on Sweden, and Caribou Cares. And yep, we do have magnets available as a reminder of the Thursdays on Sweden Street dates. So if you want one of those, you can go to here to the city office, the library, the rec department. We have them, the police department has some to pass out. For the American Rescue Plan Act, letters of intent are due February 15th. The Facade Improvement Grant Program application is on the website, and there will be an ad in Wednesday's Aroostook Republican. For business outreach, I'm still reaching out to businesses who may benefit from the many business development grants that are opening up. I just talked to another person today, as a matter of fact, that has some ideas about what might be needed in his business. So people are still responding to that and hoping to get some job creation and some projects taken care of here. The tax acquired property policy, properties are going through the process with hopes of getting a list of available properties on the agenda next meeting. Fire structural work quotes has been received to remove the roof hatch, and there has been some work done on the heat. The trailer park closure, the Caribou Housing Authority is working with 2 residents to find housing, and we appreciate that. Administrative approvals, Caribou Inn and Convention Center liquor license and special amusements were renewed on February 4th. Personnel changes, Board of Assessors met regarding the RFP for contract assessing services and wanted to post an advertisement for a full-time employee to maintain the same level of service to Caribou citizens. That's been done, and we will review those next week to see where we are at that time. Any questions?
Anybody?
Did you forward that to me?
Sure.
Oh, I got a question.
Mark, go ahead.
Hey, Penny, how was your trip?
The trip was really amazing. I met a lot of interesting people who have interesting economic development projects going on. They do a lot of cooperation regionally to do projects. And, you know, I'm not a shy person. So I would just find a table of interesting looking people and sit down and talk to them about their jobs and what they were doing. And I got a lot of good contacts, some of which I've already reached out to since I've been home. Including people that write grants for a living, people that work through economic development organizations, one person who actually had even worked in Maine. And a lot of people were people hear the name Caribou and they identify with it on a level, I guess they've heard of it, it's an iconic name, they hear about it on the weather station, and they can kind of picture Caribou because Caribou is also an animal. So I think in their mind, like, it's just, they get excited when they hear that someone is there from Maine. And I was the only person there from Maine. And it was really interesting. And I have just page and page and page of notes. And one of the things when I met with Northern Maine Development, I asked them about several of the things that I learned about when I was at the conference also, and some of those things they're doing, some of the things we also just I just tossed out there as ideas that maybe we could work collaboratively on in the future. So thanks for allowing me to attend. It was really great.
Excellent. Does anybody else have any questions for Penny, manager's report? I just wanted to talk about the tax acquired we'll hopefully have a list on the 28th with
Yep.
the idea of getting it out to bid so we could approve it in the March, hopefully at the March meeting.
Yeah,
And then get them onto the, potentially onto the tax rolls, because
for April 1st.
for the April
Yep.
1st deadline, so
Mhm.
that's,
Yep.
just wanted to clarify on that
Yep.
discussion we had earlier. Okay, thank you very much. Any? 9A, discussion, possible action on Caribou Professional Firefighters IAFF Local 5191 3-year contract, page 50 in our packet.
Right, so this is just the memo, because of course we can't release details of this until it's passed. So this was discussed in executive session after the last meeting. So if everyone has their questions answered and they want to move forward, we can do that. If not, you know, you can adjourn to executive session to discuss it further.
I make a motion that we accept the terms of the collective bargaining agreement with Caribou Professional Firefighters, IAFF Local 5191.
Second.
Can you indicate whether that's going to be the ratification date or retroactive to January 1?
Ratification date.
Okay, thank you.
Discussion?
I got a question. Well, actually, I have a comment. Years and years, I've been saying we gotta clean up the language and make it more simple. And with that, I'd be willing to pay more in wages. And, we're getting ready to vote on a package that does nothing to clear up this language. It always seems to keep us in arbitration. So I just wanted to make that clear. It's not about the money right now, about cleaning up this language that are in all of our contracts, including this. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Doesn't require executive session. Boma,
Aye.
Gone,
No.
Morale, excuse me.
No.
Morrow.
Yes.
Yes. Terrio,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
aye. Motion carries. No need to go to executive session on that. And next agenda item is going to be ordinance number 3, 2022 series amending chapter 13 land use ordinance home occupations. And all,
You just need to have this
we just need to have
introduced.
introduce this.
Unless you have questions, Ken is here.
I'll introduce the ordinance number 3, 2022 series, amending chapter 13 land use ordinance, home occupation. If anybody has any brief questions, we'll schedule a public hearing for the next meeting.
Yep.
If anybody has any questions for Ken on this. If not, we can answer them at the next meeting. Okay, 9C, a resolution to allow employees to retain up to 40 hours of 2021 unused vacation time. That's on page 62 and 3 of our packet. And I'll read this, I guess. This item was the first read at the January 24th meeting. Resolution February 1, 2021 allowed employees to bank up to 40 hours of vacation time from the previous year to be used in 2021. This was passed as a one-time occurrence due to the pandemic. Our community and workforce were still dealing with those same issues in 2021 as the pandemic has stretched on longer than anyone predicted, and as such, some members of staff were not able to take time off and use their earned vacation time. This agenda item is simply to ask if the Caribou City Council would consider allowing those employees with 2021 vacation time to roll up to 40 hours in 2022. All time off would still need to be approved need to be approved in accordance with the policy set forth by the City of Caribou personnel policies in the best interest of the department, as not to create overtime. Suggested action, motion to approve resolution February 1st, 2022, or 2/1/2022, to allow employees to retain up to 40 hours of 2021 unused vacation time before 12/31/2022.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
We did this once, and we said then that they're to take their vacation, they need their vacation. Their vacation is important to them at the time, and it's important to the operations that they get away. And here we said a year later, amending the very thing that I thought we agreed on then. Where's it in? I thought it was clearly understood that they need to take their vacation for them and for the business. And here we said.
One of the things that we ran into was staffing, because we had a lot of turnover in staff and people were not able to. I mean, I know that it was a one-time thing, and I'm just bringing it forward. If the council doesn't want to move ahead, that's fine too. You know, and I can say that as a person that is affected by this, so not as a person that it doesn't affect.
What is our guarantees we're not gonna face this next year?
I don't know that there's
Make
any.
sure that they take their vacation. There's always gonna be a reason, there'll always be a crisis. They need their vacation at the time it's due, in the year that they're supposed to have it. Does more for them, it does good for us, to make sure they get away. How will we not be faced with this again?
Well, I can tell department heads to make sure they're taking it. I mean, the two people that report to me that are hourly employees, they both took theirs, but.
Penny, there were 2 employees that didn't take their full vacation time this past year.
No, I'm just saying, like, Councilor Morrow wants to make sure that this doesn't happen and that we have something in place so that employees are taking theirs. And he's asking, how can we do that? And I said I would ask department heads to make sure that the people in their department are taking their vacation. And I said that the 2 direct reports that I have who are hourly employees, so I actually know about their vacation time. I don't necessarily know what department heads have taken for vacation time, what they have in their vacation time balance, unless I specifically ask. I know that those two people did take theirs. But I can tell you I did not take mine because I had too many. And I know it's just an excuse, and if you don't want to roll it over, that's fine too. I mean, there's nothing going to happen to me that I'm going to, from not taking it. It's just a lot going on.
Any discussion on this?
We already voted.
Mark? Go ahead, please, Mark.
So we do not know how many employees did not use all their vacation time. I mean, I'm asking because there's a request here.
I do have that somewhere. I did request it. A number. Maybe I didn't bring it down here.
It's all right, Penny.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But some people have been taking, you can take it through February. So there have been people that I noticed are taking some from, in February from last year. Yeah, I don't think I brought it downstairs. I did request it, and I was given it. I just didn't bring it downstairs with me. Do you
Okay.
happen to know ballpark? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, my comment would be this then. Yes, we had another outbreak of that Omicron variant, and I get it. But and I will vote to do it another year. But Doug has an excellent point. We did agree last year that it was important that these people take vacations. And I think we have to get back to understanding that. So I'll go with it one more year. But like Ronald Reagan said, nothing forever except a government policy. a government program, and that's what we're broken here. Years. We're gonna give the, no, it's gotta stop. But I'll do it one more year. Thank you.
Doug, did you have something?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm not trying to beat anybody out of their vacation. I'm an advocate to make sure they get and they take it. There'd be all kinds of excuses. We're all busy running both ways, up, down, left, and right. Gotta take time for yourself and your family. I'm all for voting on this. If this council can come across, and the way to get this out is that the council unanimously say, we will give this grace 1 year. Use your vacation in 2022 and be done. So we're not facing this again next year.
I just, so in here briefly is, in our conversation with Penny at the last meeting, she asked me, this was the first read, should it be put on this upcoming agenda? And I said, no, I haven't heard anything back from anybody, whether or not. So I said, no, it's not necessary to put it on the agenda. And then later I found out that Penny and a few other employees doing the two jobs and other circumstances. So I agreed to put this on this agenda, and I can agree that I can vote for this for 1 more year. In concurrence with what Councillor Gahn stated a few minutes ago. So that's how this came back to fruition on that. So do we have a motion and a second? Do we have further discussion on this item? Boma?
Aye.
Gahn?
Aye.
Morrow?
Clarification, this is still without the unanimous support of the council saying that this is the end. This year, we'll adjust this. Use your vacation. We're just, as it's written is what we're voting on. Who made the motion?
Who did make the motion? We got into discussion here. Who was?
I made the motion, you read the motion, and I.
That's the way.
So moved, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
no,
So
I vote no.
Okay, so we have a no. Morrow.
Yep, he's answered.
He's answered, okay, yes. Terrio?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Yes. And I believe that was in the motion, but we should, the direction of the
Yep, I
city
have it in
manager
here.
to make sure we don't run into this issue again. So that is,
So would you clarify, excuse me,
go
before,
ahead.
sometime today, tomorrow, how we're gonna verify that we don't run into this again? I just voted no because we didn't have that in the amendment.
Then we can make it,
So
if you
I
want to
need
make
to
a separate
know,
motion.
I wanna know how we're not gonna be faced with this again.
So this is what I wrote in my notes. Department heads, make sure that employees take vacation, and if not, it's a hard pass next year. That's what I put in my notes.
Okay.
Any more discussion on this particular item? 9C, speak up here. 9D, 2022 priorities, goals, and discussions, and that is on 64 and 65 of our packet. And I guess everybody received these and they've been trickling back into you,
Yep, they have.
so. I don't
So
know
as soon as I have all of them, I
Okay.
have 4, I need 3,
Okay.
and you know who you are, I'm not gonna call anyone out.
Oh, no, that's fine.
And when I have everyone's, then I'll get them processed and sent right back out.
Yeah, we can-
And then you can advocate for your favorite thing if you want, and then we'll come up with some good priorities. I mean, the reason why I've been pushing this is as I look at different grants that are available, all of them talk about, do you have a strategic plan? Have you identified this as a priority? So that's, you know, what we have to think about as we're making these is what's a priority for the city, so we can go back to that and say, yes, our elected officials have identified this as a priority. This is our, and then the next step will be trying to come up with some goals to meet that priority. But first, it has to start with what are priorities. And some people have returned theirs and haven't gone to 5. They've just put their top 3. You know, if you think maybe we can only get 3 done, you know. it's completely up to you. I'm just looking for some direction, and so when you do my report card at the end of the year, I know what I'll be graded on, I guess.
And I do like the, just point out the others. Last year, I believe a couple of counselors, including myself, had a couple of things we added in there too, so absolutely, and you said in the email,
Yep,
this is just a,
yeah, exactly. If
you know,
there's
there could
something
be
you
5
like.
other things
Yep,
on here that somebody
exactly.
doesn't like any of these.
Yep,
It's just kind of a,
yeah, this is a guide, but
It's
it's
a
just a
guide.
tool. If it makes you think about something that you feel is more important, write it down, tell your friends, you know, whatever needs to happen, so we can just kind of gather around a core group of initiatives that people want to take a look at.
perfect. Any more questions or?
We can include on the public safety, you have fire station operational upgrades
Mhm.
and fire station ventilating and heating, I think would all be one, wouldn't it?
Yes, I guess I
Okay.
would say so, yeah.
Mhm.
You know, where that has to do with the operation of the station, and, you know, that's something that we are, I mean, it kind of goes into the next agenda item with the letter of intent for the Aroostook County ARPA funds. I hope everyone received that, and we're supposed to have better numbers the end of the week, and I wish you had them now for me to put in my letter, but I have to go with what I have, and I sent that out for everyone to review.
Plan for the worst. Be happy for the least, I guess, what we can do with them upgrades.
Cool. Hopefully everybody can get those things back to
Yeah,
Tammy.
that would be great, and when as soon as I get them, I'm
can
just
leave
gonna
it at
pop
that.
them in, and
Yep.
we'll start talking about it.
So, then this moves into the next, to the letter of intent for the Arusa County ARPA funds, which is on page, and I think everybody read this, so exactly what. Do we
Well, I
need,
guess
do we
I'm
need a
just,
motion?
well, if you could, if everyone could indicate that they're on board with that, you know, somehow. This isn't like when we have the actual, if we are invited to go forward, we have the letter of intent as the first step. So if we go forward from there, then we will need to have a public hearing and, you know, demonstrate that we have support for the project. But I just want to make sure that everybody has read through this, that they understand kind of where we're going with this. I clarified with the program administrator, because it was kind of unclear to me in the instructions, but it looks like we can only, we have to have a 25% match, but yet we can only apply for half, up to 150,000. So I have on here how I came up with the numbers, because some of them I had to take from old numbers, because we haven't got a new estimate for the heating and ventilation upgrades, but I was told I can wrap all of this together. So this includes the sprinkler system, heating and ventilation upgrades at the fire station, and also some equipment. And this equipment has been verified to be on the list of things that can be used, that COVID money can be used for. They are video laryngoscopes and like a chest compression system that you can put on someone's chest. You don't have, does not require the provider to do that. And I have sent everyone the additional information about that. But, and those are things that have come about because of COVID, to try to keep our providers safe. You know, because people can contract different diseases. I mean, not just COVID. I mean, people can get a cold or the flu or cooties from working on people. So this, you know, this is just the information about that, which I've sent all of this information to you about that equipment. That's a lot more interesting than the things that I'm working with, which is, you know, heating, ventilation, and sprinklers. That's not as exciting as, you know, equipment that saves lives, but it will help with our first responders to have better living conditions, and maybe be able to expand their dormitory space there also.
So,
And I have to really commend Ryan Hall of the fire department. He's the one that put all this effort into getting the information for me on this equipment. And he also prepared this information about their response times, the communities that they do serve, both as first responders and also mutual aid. Just to demonstrate to the people making these decisions that our fire and ambulance crews, an investment in this kind of equipment doesn't just help Caribou, it helps a lot. This is kind of what it looks like with the chest compressions, different sized people it can work on. So investing in this isn't just helping Caribou, it's really helping a lot of other communities. And since this is a county-wide grant, funds that are available, it's helping multiple communities within the county. So
Cool.
this is the chest compression.
even if, so the letter of intent, the Senate, it'll still come to a public hearing.
Yes.
We still have to vote on it.
Yes, if we get to go to phase 2, which I guess is why I've been stressing so much about this letter, because I don't want it to be that I've somehow left out something, you know, important, that they say, well, we're not inviting you to stage 2 because you didn't, you know, provide us with information. Particularly after last week listening to the USDA Reconnect webinar about funding for broadband, and there were some very obtuse requirements there, like if you have any wetlands where you're going to put broadband, we have to have inventories of endangered species that might be affected in the watershed. You know, so that kind of thing. So this is the laryngoscope that they have too. I mean, it's amazing the improvements in equipment that they have now.
Well, this isn't set in stone, but I prefer, this is one, I prefer that the council make a formal vote to allow the city manager to submit this, and then it's documented. We move forward, and then we can say, submit the letter of intent.
Okay.
And then it's into the, that's my opinion
Okay.
on this. And then we know exactly if everybody has read, because this is basically, you're gonna put this in tomorrow.
Yep, exactly.
As everybody has seen in the packet in the
Yep.
previous emails.
I am going to add a sentence in there that it is possible, once we get these quotes, that it could be as high as the 300,000, which would make us eligible for the 150 match, which again is only 50%. So
Council's wishes.
Jody,
Yes,
I
Mark.
was find, Penny, correct? If I follow the email chain, these were recommendations made by the chief, correct?
Well, I guess indirectly, some of this has to do from the capital needs assessment that we've talked about in the building committee, municipal building committee meeting, with regard to the heating, ventilation, and sprinklers.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then with the equipment, that's come from the fire station. I've talked to Chief Susi about it. It was actually Ryan Hall that prepared the information with Chief Susi's blessing.
Okay.
Yep. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it's very important that aspect, money well spent. But you also said something that was very important. It's just not for Caribou. This is for the surrounding communities, which we provide services for too. And if we ever get to phase 2, it'd be nice if we could get everybody on board and saying how important this is.
That's a great point.
Yes, it is. Anybody else have anything?
I'd like to make, excuse me, the motion to submit this letter of intent for funding, as Penny pointed out to us.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded to, city manager to submit this.
Move forward.
Move forward, I guess. Discussion? Boma?
Aye.
Gone? Morrow?
Aye.
Morrow? Excuse me, sorry.
Oh, he's back.
Yes.
Yep.
Theriot?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Smith? Me? Aye. So that'll be in the minutes, and
Great.
look forward to hearing back from you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm anxious to hear back myself.
Is there a response window, like a date that you should hear, or?
I don't know. I don't remember reading if there was a date we would hear.
Well, but there's a date for submission.
There's a date that we have to, yes, tomorrow is the
The
day.
date.
Yep.
And then the full application is has a due date also, so I'm assuming they'll let us know
Yeah.
soon. Let's
Hope
hope.
they do it before to give you plenty of time prior to the due date.
Right.
Okay, so that takes care of that. Now we get the good stuff. 2022 municipal budget presentations. Department 20, General Assistance, City Clerk, Danielle. We have,
You need to have bigger print.
where's our big,
I agree. I printed
Or a
out
big one,
mine
that would
in
be
several
in-
ways. I still can't read it, which is why I have this. If you find
Oh,
it.
I should have grabbed mine.
Yeah, I didn't bring my big one in with me.
well, I don't think it had, the big one was just for,
I think some of them are in
Are
there.
they on there?
Yeah, they were, when I printed it, I printed the whole thing.
big one?
I didn't think to
I wish I
print.
had known
Maybe
because
I-
I left that one home.
I'll just, I'll fall off.
'Cause I can't see that one.
Okay, so last year I got lucky and I didn't have to talk to you guys about this. I had Dennis do it. Not so
No
lucky this
such
year, I
luck.
didn't even ask.
Mhm.
So, there's a few things that are reduced. These numbers really don't change a lot, but the salary is reduced, but right now it's only based on mine, so I'm sure that's all Carl had to work with. I'm working on having a second person trained so that I can, like, take a vacation. Because I can't, because this is an on-call 24/7. And I've been the only person. So that's one thing. Really, it's not changed by much. Last year, we didn't use a lot of general assistance because there's so much COVID money out there that I just had to point people in the direction of it. That doesn't mean COVID money is gonna stay in place. I could use more this year. We'll see what happens. Time will tell. One of the things with general assistance, this is in our budget, but just because it says this is how much money, $20,000, I can go over that by law. So it is there. I'm gonna try not to, obviously. We're gonna use all resources available, but just so you are aware, that is just a guideline. Do you have any questions about the general assistance budget?
Anybody have any questions for Danielle? Thank you.
Danielle, while you're there, is there anything you want to talk about? Clerk budget, voting? You wear a lot of different hats, so are there any other hats you want to talk about?
I did ask for more in the elections budget. Minimum wage went up, because that's all they get paid, is minimum wage. So that's one of the things. June election, right around the corner, we're gonna use a tabulator. We're not gonna hand count. I mean, we hand count the schools, that's enough. We've got referendum questions for ordinances, so we're gonna try to use the machine, and it's gonna bump our budget big time. Because we're gonna have to pay for special ordered ballots, which are horribly expensive. Like in November, my ballots cost twice as much, because we were 2 pages, front and back, because of
Yeah.
all the referendums. So I did bump that one some in hopes to be able to have the machine count and have a good count. And no questions asked, it's good to go. State ballots, type style.
I have And this doesn't have to do with so much the budget. Is there a date on when we have to have the charter changes for the ballot?
Well, as soon as possible, because June election season, if you're looking at June,
Yeah.
starts in
were.
March. So,
So we're gonna need a charter meeting to decide what.
So
If
should
there's
I set
anything.
one up? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well,
If
we
there's
have,
anything we want to discuss, I don't have anything on the radar, but if
no, well, we've had some things that we didn't put in November,
Right.
I already
moving
have
them to
those.
June,
Those are already on the ballot.
Oh,
so they're all
okay.
set.
Those three are
Okay.
good.
still, still have a meeting.
We should probably have a meeting just to make sure that we got everything we want.
We had like six or
Yeah,
7 or 8 or something we came up with, and we cut it back to
Right.
3 or 4,
Yeah.
whatever that number was.
Yeah, right now I've got 3 lined up.
Because
For
some of
June.
those already have had legal consultation and all that
Right.
good stuff.
Okay.
Just, yeah, go ahead and revisit that. Don't mind.
Yep.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Danielle. And, 9F, item 2, Department 22, Code Enforcement and Assessing, and Code Enforcement Officer Ken.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. I think we're just gonna go from what I
Page that
remember. In years past, this
72, I
budget's
think.
been done by Penny Thompson. Manager Thompson is largely responsible for all the work that's been done on this budget this year as well, with some input from Tony Michaud and myself. With the idea of not to increase the budget line any more than absolutely possible, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we allow for 3 full-time equivalents, plus a contractor that's doing our local plumbing inspection. So, any adjustments are on the right. And the bottom line is a little more than was budgeted last year, but a little less than was actually expended this past year.
Questions for Ken on Code Enforcement and Assessing?
I would say this department's in a bit of transition, so there's some things that I've not been read into that maybe Penny is more expert in.
So I would answer anything that anybody had for question 2. We still have money in there for trainings and travel to trainings because we don't know yet. Before COVID, we were not allowed to get credit for anything we weren't at in person. That, of course, changed during COVID, so we haven't traveled to trainings very much, but we don't know what they may change that.
Right.
They're starting to have more in-person trainings.
So-
As an assessor, I have to have 28 credits a year, 12 of which have to be advanced assessor training. So that's quite a few
Right.
that I have to
And
have.
if we get back to some sort of normal, and we do travel for training, we're coming up on the years that there'll be some additional training to resume to keep our accreditations.
Yeah, catch up. Yeah.
And if we get new hires, we'll have to think about theirs as well, so.
Yeah. So with code, we only renew every 6 years. So you have 6 years to get in your different credits. And it depends on how many certifications that you have. Like Tony and I have 9. So we actually just renewed last year. Yeah, 2021. So we still have 6 years to renew all of ours. What year do you renew? Do you remember?
I'm 2 years out.
Yeah.
I'm getting as much as I can locally,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I've got 6
Yeah.
to get.
But you only have 3 that you have 3 disciplines though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Currently.
Any further questions for Penny or Ken on this agenda item?
Thank you.
Item 9F, subsection 3. Departments 2496, Caribou Housing Authority. We have the Housing Director Lisa here with us this evening. Thank you.
Hello. My budget is on page 88 and on 90. So, starting with Department 24, which is Caribou Housing Authority, page 88.
Oh, yes, I'm not looking in the right order because it's, with the enterprise accounts.
Yes, Caribou Housing Authority is an oddball department. Just before we look at numbers and numbers going up, I want to point out that anything that you spend for Department 24 and 96 is 100% reimbursed to the city of Caribou at the end of every month. As far as housing goes, the biggest items in there, besides office supplies, postage going up, keeping in mind we have 2 new programs that we're running. We got besides the Housing Choice Voucher, which is known as Section 8, we now have mainstream and emergency housing. We went from, in 1 year time frame, 193 vouchers up to 248. So we have a lot more families that we're assisting now. With that increase, I am put in there with the hopes, once HUD gets caught up, we might be able to hire a part-timer. With inspection season coming along the summer, a lot of times I'm out on the road doing inspections, that leaves 1 person in the office. Gosh forbid she wants to take vacation or if she's out sick, then no one's in the office. So if HUD gets caught up and if we have the space to put the person, we'd like to hire a part-timer. So with that part-timer, of course, you have costs that would go up as telephone and computers and internet would be a cost of it. Another item that we put in there this year that has never been done, we like to give some money back to the city for finance. Besides them doing our payroll, they also pay a lot of our bills on our behalf. Then, like I said, they get reimbursed as well to help offset some of their costs. We also have down towards the bottom of the budget, another line item in there too, is rent. This is something that the city has asked for in the past, and we've roughly figured about between 2 offices and a closet, for about $500 a month, $6,000. That's the biggest part of our increase. But again, like I said, it all depends on whether we can afford a part-time or not. It's up to the council. But being proactive, I like to put it in there just in case. Any questions on Department 24?
What about Mark? I don't wanna,
Oh, yeah.
can you hear us, Mark?
No,
Do you have any? Do you have any questions for Lisa on the housing?
no,
Okay.
Yes.
Impact on the economy.
Yes, I will.
So-
Department 96, which is our family self-sufficiency program. This is a grant-driven program. We are the only one north of Bangor to have this particular program, and we've had a lot of success with it. This year, our grant was able to go from $57,000 and I believe up to $64,000. And this is managed by Sue Willett, and she does an excellent job. In fact, she just raised our families that participate with this program from 40 up to 62. So the more families that we can assist with vouchers, the more families she can get onto that program as well. And just something I'd like to point out before I close, I have been here quite a few years. Last year, and I'm gonna say last year, let's see, 2020, we sent out about $800,000, a little under $900,000 to the local economy. That's rents and utility reimbursements. Due to partnerships and other incentive programs we got in 2021, we sent out over $1 million to the local economy. That is rents, utility reimbursement, FSS money, going to families that graduate from the program. It could be families that are on the program that come in and get money so they can get their cars fixed, so they can go to school. And also landlord incentive programs, which is security deposits, landlord reimbursements for damages, signing bonuses. Any new landlord right now that's coming on the program for a regular voucher, we're giving them $750 as a thank you for assisting a family. Any questions? Yes?
Lisa, how's your inventory with apartments?
That is a
houses?
big thing right now, and that's part of the reason we're doing the landlord incentive program. It's $750 for the mainstream and the Section 8 vouchers, $1,000 for anybody who leases up to a family with an emergency housing voucher. With the landlord incentive program, I'm gonna say in the past year, we probably had maybe 5 or 6 new landlords come out of the woodwork that are, hey, where's this extra money I'm gonna get? And they think it's great. And we've got some landlords that are looking at selling properties. We've got some new landlords that are buying old properties. But we need more rentals.
Yeah.
We really do. And that is something I'm partnering up with the other, for Fairfield and Presque Isle Housing Authority. We're brainstorming all the time. Because it's not just Caribou, this is nationwide.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Any questions from council? For Lisa?
We're good? Thank you.
Good job, thank you.
And the last, we got, departments 10, 11, 17, 18, 30, 16.
No, we have 20, 20, and 12.
Oh, excuse me, I skipped Peter. Departments
Peter.
25 and 12, Caribou Public Library and Islander Museum, Library Director Peter.
What
Good evening,
page?
Mayor, City Councilors, and City Manager Penny.
Hey.
The library is looking for an increase in its salary line of about 27% in order to add a 15-hour part-time position. We have one staff member who is willing to relinquish 5 hours, covering a little over 7 hours of minimum wage pay. So that 0.7% increase reflects a additional 7 hours to cover the rest of the 15-hour employee. The libraries had to close a couple times last year due to short staffing. Now with the addition of the museum, my time becomes a lot less free to cover. We recently had an employee out with COVID, and it left me having to miss one of my classes at college just to make sure the library stayed open on one of our more prominent days. We have another increase in our computer maintenance line. Our 2-year website subscription is due, as well as our professional dues for our Amazon subscription, and our Cloud Library subscription is increasing by $100 this year to include Comics Plus, something that previous director Hope Schaefer had put into motion last year in order to increase digital subscriptions, as well as the fact that graphic novels are becoming an increasing part of libraries. And our programming budget, we have asked for an increase of $250 up to $1,000 as we return to programming in 2022, which currently reflects pre-COVID programming. Are there any questions?
Questions from council? Thank you.
Oh, are you gonna talk about Nylander?
I can.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah,
number
okay,
12.
that's same time, yep.
What page is that right now?
I know a bit less about the numbers here, but I'm sure Penny can fill in anything that I don't know.
Most of these were just projections anyways.
Page around for Islander.
69.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I'll go backwards.
Yeah. Ta-da, okay.
So, looking at the Nylander Museum, starting with salaries, there has been a proposed $27,690 in order to reflect the current part-timer's salary, as well as the introduction of 2 more part-time people if the museum is going to be open. There's also that also includes the projected 115-hour requested by the library director as a weekly stipend. And I believe the only other one that I know enough to really talk about is line item 394 for community projects, estimated about $5,000 in order to, encourage programming and cover other necessities of keeping the museum open that are not covered by other line items.
Any questions for Penny or for Peter on the Nylander proposed budget? Thank you. And you get all the rest?
Yep.
What Barb was saying.
I think so. So Department 10 is general government, and we are not adding any new people. In this department, you have the clerk's office, finance, the city manager's office. Part of the clerk's pay comes from general assistance. Part of the manager's pay comes from economic development. So those numbers are reflected there. As our city clerk was speaking about general assistance, the hope is that either her deputy or assistant clerk can become trained in general assistance so that, you know, in another year, maybe some of their salary can be reflected in general assistance also. But for now, she's literally the only person who is certified to do general assistance, and with the state mandates that person is available 24 hours a day. So if someone marches into the police department or calls the police department and says they need help, they have her number and they give her a call, and she is required to meet with them. And that was something our previous clerk had to do also. Of course, she always had backup, but unfortunately with all of the turnover in the clerk's office, through no fault of the clerk, it just has worked out that way with other opportunities that people have had. That's the situation that we're in right now. So that line is down for various reasons. We are still looking for someone in the finance department, and so we would encourage anyone to check that out on the website, just a shameless plug. So this year, we're seeing an increase in our postage. Of course, they have raised the rates. The other part of that is, with times being what they are, a lot of people don't want to come into the office. So we are mailing a lot of things that previously people would come in to get. So unfortunately, that means we end up talking to people like 3 times, because they come in, they call, they want the stuff, then they call us when they get the stuff, and then they call us to make sure we got the stuff back. And before, they would come in, do their business, they're done. But we're in a new world, and a lot of hand-holding. The reduction in legal fees is just based on usage. There had been 35,000 in there, but we've reduced that to 25 to more accurately reflect what we've actually used. I do have a couple of things in here about like the computer upgrades, and I'm not sure where this ever was put before, but when I talked to Bob at Oakleaf about what our needs are here, the primary server needs to be replaced, the primary firewall needs to be replaced. These are things I haven't seen on anyone's radar. If it's not something that we feel we can do this year, then we can put it into a capital plan and maybe do it next year. But I can tell you, as a person who works here, there's nothing angrier than someone who's taken off time from work to come here. They wait in line only to find out our server is down. And Bob is fantastic. He will be right over here. He will fix it. And that part of it's excellent, but it's even better when our stuff doesn't break in the middle of the workday. And it does happen when you're working with older machines. And of course, we had water damage, which when Mr. Marker was here, he did fix the hose tower. We don't seem to have water coming in anymore, which that is definitely an improvement. Again, back to travel and conferences. A lot of what we're doing is still Zoom for now, so we don't know how that's going to play out over the next year or so. People seem to be responding well to Zoom trainings. I mean, it's certainly very convenient. You can log in and, you don't have that travel time, because everyone thinks that Bangor is northern Maine, and there is no reason why all of us can't be to Bangor at 8 in the morning for a training, because after all, it's northern Maine and they're catering to us for that. I say, why not come to Caribou then? But that's just me being me. So elections, again, as our city clerk discussed, the June election, in previous years, this was kind of just a yes or no on the school budget. But this year we do have some charter amendments that we really need to have those machine processed. We can't have people trying to count 5 different questions with paper ballots. So, and there's always, whenever you introduce humans into any equation, there's a margin of error that we're not going to see in a tabulator. There are some decreases with the cell phone. I have just been using my own cell phone. Mr. Marker had a city phone. I've just been using my own. The miscellaneous expenses, again, this is just to reflect kind of what's actually been used instead of just keeping a number in there. The other changes here, vehicle repairs, I mean, the fleet vehicles that we have are getting older. I don't know. We're not a big difference between this year and last year, but it's down like 1.3%. But of course, these are all shown as a zero increase in any wages. Also, as I look at these things. So the next one.
Penny, just a second.
Yes.
Do we have a formal quote for the server and the
Yeah, that's
firewall?
from Bob. Yep.
Can you send me that quote, please?
Yep, sure.
Oh, is that under computer maintenance?
Pardon
Yeah.
me?
Under computer maintenance?
Well, that's, yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty important.
Yep.
Yep.
And that goes right along with whether we're dodging raindrops inside the building.
Yeah.
The people's asset, and the people come here for service, and we gotta service them.
Well, as we say here, it's about having broken tools, and some days it feels like it's just run amok with broken tools.
Yep, thank you.
So on to Department 17, which is Health and Sanitation. By state statute, the city is required to have a health officer. Our health officer is Fire Chief Scott Susi. The biggest expense here is Tri-Community Landfill. This number is given to me from them, and this has to do with Maine DEP has mandated an increase of $1 a ton they're doing a big project. It's been in the news about forever chemicals, that type of thing. This is also reflects owner tonnage reserves for closure from AWS. For the municipal building, which is Department 18, of course, again, what we're facing here are increases in things that we have a hard time to control, which is our heating fuel, water, sewer. I have in here per CUD an increase in the water rate of 4%, the sewer rate of 2%. I've looked at the governor's energy office to see what the differences are with heating fuel. And, we can have some very significant costs there. We can have significant costs also in electricity. One of the things that I have on the priorities, and we've talked about before, is the possibility of the city entering into a solar power purchase agreement. We have several solar farms in the city, and those owners would entertain a partnership with the city to reduce their energy bills. This past year, we went through a project that was authorized by council last year to have Dead River come in and work on all of our controls in the city office. So next year, we'll be able to see if that has realized some savings with our heat fuel. We still have had to call them different times. Different zones seem to work better than others. Don't know if there's any questions on this. There is a big increase you'll see here for janitorial. We have not renewed, we haven't gone out to bid for a contract since 2013, and we haven't changed our price for this line item since 2013. And so we're getting what we're paying for, and we definitely need some improvement on that. So I've been working on an RFP to go out when I feel kind of confident that we're going to have the budget situated for the library, the police department, and the municipal building as one contract to try to get a better rate for those buildings, but also reflect that things cost more in 2022 than they did in 2013. See, so our next department is 38. So let's see. That would be page 11. So, protection, we have the street lights, hydrant fees. This is in this particular department. We have had discussions about the street lights, and you'll see there is an increase in the street light maintenance line, and that just reflects what was actually spent. And the hydrant fees, I do have a note in here from the CUD that the Public Utilities Commission allows the CUD to charge $355,000. They are charging us $325,000. So we do, and so that's what I put in, because that's what the number I was given from them. I try to use actual numbers when I can. Department 60, which is the airport. And I will say that when I went on to my conference on economic development, I was fortunate enough as part of that to visit the Jacqueline Cochran Regional Airport out there. And they talked about what an economic driver it is in that area, because people can stay out of the commercial airports. They like coming into general aviation facilities. We have found that here also, that our little airport can help be an economic driver for our community. Business owners can fly from their base of operations up here to check on their assets here. A lot of the major increases here, again, are related to heating fuel. We have the increases with water and sewer, which aren't big. They're not big users for water and sewer at the airport. The liability insurance, those numbers, we get actual numbers for those things. A big issue that we have is our equipment is old up there, like every other place in the city, and it costs us a lot to be fixing that as these things age. We do have, we are keeping the runways open, and we are working on the runway lights. We have the obstruction lights, we've had those changed. We were fortunate enough to get some CARES Act money that we've been able to use for some of these projects up at the airport. But not everything is covered in those, but we are trying to, so the next time we have an inspection, they're not still complaining about things they complained about 3 years ago, which is what happened to us this year when we had our FAA inspector came. They were the same issues that were never addressed, but we are addressing those now. The Caribou Trailer Park, again, we are on to Department 61. And this, we are in the middle of closing the park, but we still have certain expenses while it's open. For example, we just had to renew the license fee because we still have people in there, so we have to keep that going. Garbage collection, that is down. Our contractor is charging us less because we have fewer tenants there. So we are working on getting that closed. The cemeteries, this is not a big department for the city. And of course, as our former city clerk would say when I would ask her about cemeteries, the city doesn't own any cemeteries. So, and that may be true, but we still, by state statute, do need to maintain the veteran graves that are in the cemetery. And as a person who lives here and goes to the cemeteries quite often, because I have a lot of loved ones that are buried there, I call it visiting the in-laws when I go there, water the flowers and things. It is nice when our cemeteries look good. It's nice when we have people that come from out of town that also have loved ones that are buried here. If they can see that the city is also, taking care of our cemeteries. We did receive a letter from the Linden Cemetery that they would like their stipend increased to $600 this year from $300. We also do participate with the VFW on the Memorial Day flags. We've been asked also by the Veterans Cemetery. We have not in the past budgeted any money towards the Veterans Cemetery, but they have asked for a donation this year also. One of the things that happened this year is the Grime Cemetery, the folks that were kind of looking after that are not able to do that anymore, and so we have been cutting the grass, arranging to have the grass cut out there for several years, and I don't know that there's a lot of plots left out there, but that's what's going on there. We're hoping to get maybe a map or something so we can figure out where people are buried. There is a professor at UMPI that's trying to work on some of these cemeteries so we can let people know where their loved ones are buried. Department 70 is insurance and retirements. This is where, we have it, different things in here because we have to put them somewhere, I guess. Workman's comp, unemployment, the liability insurance, deductibles, compensated absences. Last year we put $25,000 in there. We haven't that budgeted again for this year. But of course, if everyone who is eligible to retire did retire, there's probably not enough money in there to pay them out what they're owed, but we are working at it. Most of these would be things that are handled in the finance department, if you have questions about that. Department 80. I have something in the wrong place here, but contributions. Last year, Department 75, the City Council did contribute to the Heuristic Area Agency on Aging. I did give the council scans of other agencies and organizations that have asked for contributions. So if you want to consider those, this is where we would put that money. Department 80, unclassified expenses, abatements, tax lien costs, refunds, and reimbursements. Department 11 is actually an enterprise account like housing. The money that funds Department 11, which is economic development, comes from our tax increment finance district. And we have to make sure that any money that's spent out of here aligns with the purpose from the original documents that have that were filed with the state when that tax increment finance district was created. So this includes part of the manager's salary and hoping to add a full-time position back in there. We did lose our full-time employee this year. I envision this person doing grant writing and more business outreach and less of the emphasis on different events. I think our recreation department does a great job with events. I talk to Gary regularly on different things, and but I think that a full-time person, I would like to see that person here at the city office with their an office that would be nearer to the city manager, so that the city manager and this person could be collaborating more on outreach to business. Again, finding out what tools do businesses need to thrive, how can we try to get that for them, and especially if this person has a background in grant writing, then that is that's what we'd be looking for. I've been working on the job description, but have been hesitant again to put this out until after we get through the budget process, just in case someone, puts the brake or has a different idea on this. But that's how I envision this. The subscriptions that's in here, the city had a subscription to a service called eCivis, and this was to help with grants. Councilor Willie, I think maybe you had looked at it. I had looked at it. It was good for finding grants. I didn't find it was but there were just so many that didn't apply to us. I had really wished there was a way to filter them out that, so I didn't have to read through 50 to find that, there's one that might fit. And then again, what I would run into is that we didn't have a strategic plan that we could point back to. One of the things that I found when I went to the Economic Development Conference, there are several different companies that offer the same service, and I've been listening to sales pitches from them to see which one might be more cost effective and user friendly for this. Travel expenses, conference fees, again, we don't know in 2022 if we'll be able to go to trainings and conferences. I did find with the conference I went to, just really sitting down at tables and talking to people. People love to talk about themselves, and so if you can get them talking about successful projects that they had, then they're willing to help you. And again, I've already talked to people since I've been home about that. The trail groomer reserve, the city was able to get a groomer last year through a grant partnership. Gary Marquis is very good at working with the state so that they know how important our trail system is to our area, that these trails keep our businesses open in the wintertime. People come from all over to ride the trails. We have great partners with the clubs. I'm sure at some point that trail groomer is going to have to be replaced also, and this puts money away so that when there's an opportunity to get another groomer, we have money for whatever our match would be if Gary was, able to get a grant. Again, like this year, he got one for $95,000, which is certainly a big help towards very successful grant. I think he got another couple thousand from something else too to go towards that. We do have a membership to Northern Maine Development Commission. That is the biggest expense here in our contract and services. That contract runs July 1 to June 30th, but we have received our bill for that, which I have sent. Downtown infrastructure. One of the things that we would like to do, and Gary and I have talked about, and he's been working with businesses, is to extend the Edison lights that are currently in the downtown mall across Sweden Street. I guess years ago there had been lights down there, and so we're trying to work with our businesses and partners down there just to give it that Hallmark Christmas movie feeling, which I love so much. Different community projects. Again, we are going full on with Thursdays on Sweden. We're very hopeful that people are going to come out this year and enjoy each other's company, enjoy live music. We have lots of vendors down there, good food, the beer garden. Gary and I have been talking about ways to maybe dress that up a little bit with some standing tables, maybe some lights on that street. Also, just to get more people down there. So if we're going to go to all the trouble to get it set up, we want to see it full. We want to see a lot of people down there enjoying it. And Heritage Days and Caribou Days, we've got some great activities planned for that already. Winter Carnival, that's going to be great this year too. It's going to be in March, so maybe it's going to be a little warmer. We have wonderful things planned for that too. Slum and blight removal and land bank seed, we have those the same as last year. Facade improvement, I'd like to see us do 2 different times that people can come out and apply for that, one in the spring, one in the fall. Last year we did one, and it was in the spring, and it was very well received. And there were a lot of people in the fall that maybe, you know, by the time they kind of took a hard look at things, how things weathered, you know, over the summer, and decided that they would like to participate. So I think there would be certainly enough interest to do 2 different rounds of that if the council was agreeable. And I would be happy to entertain any questions that you may have. And I'll give you a blank stare because probably I've told you everything I know. Yes.
I would like to request a copy of this proposed, including the COLAs that were left out of it. I don't know how we can put a budget together and even begin to talk about it without a placeholder in there. I did get your email stating that chair and co-chair had asked not to be in there. I might be confused, but I don't think that's your authority to do that. We're trying to paint a true picture. Maybe you don't need it. Okay, I'm dumb. I need it in there. I need to see what, there's going to be something.
Okay.
We all know that.
So what do you want me to bring it back to you with a number?
All I'm asking for is a copy for me. Just print it and I'll pick it up.
Okay.
You put in, I would start with a 2%
Okay.
placeholder.
Okay.
There's no way you can realistically look at this without it in it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any more questions for Penny on any of the budget she presented to us?
Counselor Gahn has his hand
Mark.
up.
Real quick, cemetery, under the subject of cemeteries. Yeah, your past city clerk might have, yes, we do not own these cemeteries. Unless we take care of the people who take care of these cemeteries, in the future, we may own them. I've had many, not many, I'm gonna say this past year, 3 people visiting our farm mentioned some issues about, they came out to visit their uncle, their grandparents who were in the cemetery, and how they didn't think the cemeteries were kept up correctly. And they wanted to know what the city council was gonna do about it. So, the moral of this story is, this is a subject we ought to just make sure we all understand. Look at the pay raise, look at the money we spent on salaries 20 years ago, and look at the money we're spending today. It doesn't even keep up with inflation. I'm gonna go along with Doug on this one. Many of these budgets we received tonight have, assuming 0% COLA. And I guess my question was gonna be to administration, are these people gonna get a pay raise? We have shown, I think, that there are jobs out there that pay more. And if we have good people working for us, I don't think we should be presenting a budget to the people assuming 0% COLA unless it's administration's plan not to give these people at least some kind of a raise. And that's administration's issue. And I'm gonna take issue, Penny, and I apologize, and I don't wanna be, this is where leadership comes in. And it clearly states in the charter that it's the city manager's job to present a budget to the council. To ask what the number should be, no, you present the number to us. And the third thing I'm gonna say is, all of a sudden, the buzzword, unfunded liabilities, is coming up a lot. We received an email from our finance director. He went off subject, but he mentioned we had unfunded liabilities. And tonight you mentioned we owe more than we have in one of the departments. And I guess I'd like this, and I know what the answer is, but it's been 2 or 3 years since we've talked about this in open forum. What does the city have for unfunded liabilities? What do we owe that we're not properly financing? And it's time, and I guess because the financial officer brought it up in an email, I'd like to have him give a report on it at some future council meeting prior to this budget going to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions for Penny on anything she presented?
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Keep it brief.
It's quick. Could you just, I'm Mark Rubio. Could you just clarify about, or give a little more information about the power plants coming from the solar farms? I didn't get all of that. That we may have an alternative to Versailles. That's what I'm interested in. Thanks.
That's a long answer. So the municipality can enter into what's called a solar power purchase agreement with one of the, it wouldn't necessarily have to be one of them in Caribou, but to support the ones we have in Caribou, we could enter into an agreement with them that we would save like a flat amount on that. And they have said that they're willing to come in and give presentations on that. It's more complicated than I'm able to explain in a few minutes, but yeah.
You can
If you want to come in someday, though,
come in
we
and
can
see
go
us
over.
someday. She
We
can
can,
probably
yeah,
get an email
yeah.
or
It's not
something.
an alternative to Versailles.
No, it's not we still are going to get a bill from Versant Power, you know, it's just that they have an arrangement and we get so much off the bill, but we have to, you know, enter into a long agreement with them, and I mean, it's a lot to think about. But they like to contract with municipalities, schools, places that they know is going to be there.
Any other questions? So, okay, that brings it up. Reports and discussion by mayor and city council members. So I have should I read this?
I'm sure.
Yeah, okay. It's come in late. It's Al, excuse me, Al Brigham, EDA Maine and New Hampshire representatives, 34 Timber Hill Road, Wyndham, Maine. To Alan and the EDA Grant Review Committee, the city of Caribou was excited to support the Aroostook Band of Micmacs in their economic venture to expand their fish hatchery. The current hatchery and Micmac farm store is tremendous benefit to our community and has proven to be a viable business here. We are aware that the Micmacs have developed relationships with the state and other foundation supporters that allow them to distribute quality fish and utilize our food pantries and emergency food banks. This expansion is an opportunity to promote preparedness, ensuring that our community can remain resilient in the face of supply chain distributions to our food supply and the rising costs at the grocery stores. This project will mitigate future risks and vulnerabilities to those who are suffering financially due to the pandemic and those who are impacted by rising costs of living. Our community has a rich history in agriculture, and we are supportive of efforts that nurture this way of life. The fish hatchery expansion will provide jobs and boost funding to our area while addressing food insecurity directly. The Caribou City Council supports this application as it works to provide resilience to our citizens. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I can be reached. Respectively submitted, Penny Thompson, City Manager.
So I was asked today to lend our support to an application to the Economic Development Agency on behalf of the Micmacs who want to expand their fish hatchery. So that's what that is about.
Do you have any nuts and bolts? I mean, like,
I did have a longer email, and I can email it to you.
I'm just
Yeah,
curious,
yeah, Yeah.
That letter came in late, so
Yep.
I'll read it.
I mean, like literally 2 o'clock this afternoon, that request came. So.
Stuck it on the end there. Okay, so we get that covered. Reports and discussion by mayor and council members. Mark?
Can someone, how's the broadband meeting coming? When is that gonna be held?
February 22nd at 6 p.m. here in the chambers.
22nd.
Yeah, I'll announce that right now. That's the broadband, February 22nd, 6 p.m. We'll be here with CUD, hopefully Board of Trustees, Business Investment Group, and council members.
Okay.
So, and she sent an email. She sent an email out about that earlier. Denise did.
Denise
So
did.
just please reply to that. So we're.
Yep.
And if you need a Zoom link, let us know too.
Yes. Good, thank you.
Yeah, anything else?
No, thanks, no.
Doug?
I'm good to go.
I'm fine.
No, good.
Courtney?
Nope.
Okay, so we got the broadband. I announced that our upcoming meetings are February 28th, a regular meeting. March 14th, we'll have our public hearing for the budget. Schedule and March 28th is our regular meeting. The city council workshop on February 22nd, as Mark asked earlier, at 6 p.m. Also, I believe the planning board meeting is at 5:30 this Thursday.
This Thursday.
And the chair, Dan Bagley, reached out to me and Penny. They are going to have broadband discussion on their agenda as well. So that'll be information that's part of the reason for scheduling this meeting, broadband meeting, for next Tuesday. So we'll have more information. There's been some recent things that the CUD had a vote, so we could all talk about these things before we make a decision or how we want to move forward. And that is all I have. So.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
So adjourn, Bowman.
Aye.
Gone.
Hi.
Morale. Get it right. Moral. Yeah, assume yes. Terrio.
Aye.
Willie.
Aye.
Aye.
We all voted anyway.
No, I just.
Trying to keep the record intact.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep. Email me the numbers on Arpa for the fires.
Yes, yep, I can, yeah, I'll email you that when I send it to them. How's that? No, because I didn't really want to tip the whole world off to what we were doing.